Hey guys, I hope we're doing well. Today I'm going to talk a bit about porn addiction. Often that's linked with alcohol, cocaine use. For me, they'd all become fused together. But 18 months now, clean and sober from all of that. It's an incredibly difficult addiction to put down. And I think it's something a lot of guys are really struggling with. But not many guys really get the help they need a lot of the time because they're not really willing to ask for the help because of the shame linked to it. But it's absolutely a ton of guys out there struggling with porn addiction linked to cocaine use and that type of stuff. And it's only really going to get worse, I think, the next few years, just because it's so accessible now. And a lot of young guys, they end up just learning to, connect to a screen as opposed to connect to a woman in real life, which is obviously a terrible way to go and is going to lead to all sorts of negative consequences down the road. The first main issue with it, if you've got a problem with porn, is that it's going to make it very difficult to have a healthy relationship because it takes away that ability to connect in a healthy way. Because you don't have to be vulnerable, don't have to risk rejection. You're essentially just connecting to a screen and fantasy. And if you are unfortunate enough to have a cocaine problem along with that, you can end up in a really dark place that's difficult to get out of. It takes an awful lot of work. So that's one of the first problems with it, is you just end up connecting to a screen and not really real life. It keeps you stuck in that shame cycle as well, and that's what makes it really difficult to quit. Maybe you go on some kind of bender, cocaine, porn, you feel deeply ashamed after, and the shame keeps you going back to it to escape that shame. That's why it's incredibly difficult. And I think a lot of people struggle to put it down long term and get clean from that type of behavior. Another thing is you end up using it to regulate emotions, and this is something I did for a lot of years. If I felt stressed, lonely, bored, angry, it could be anything, wouldn't want to work through that feeling, I got used to just escaping those feelings through cocaine, alcohol, porn. And really, it just makes everything 10 times worse. You know, that feeling the next day, the regret, the shame, the guilt, all starts to build up. Some of the stuff I would suggest if you're trying to get away from this type of behavior: detoxes, willpower. It's not going to work. Maybe it's going to help you build up a few days, but it's not really a long-term solution to getting clean from this type of problem. What I firstly would suggest is replacing the habits. Because when you get clean and sober from this type of stuff, you could have a lot of time back, time that you were spending previously on the addictions, and it needs to be replaced with something healthy, something difficult, challenging. I think a lot of men lack that these days. Something physical, something hard and difficult that is going to make you think, work, and take you away from that type of behavior. That will be one of the first suggestions. Second thing I would say is, hello mate, is removing access, making it incredibly difficult. I think if you've got a problem with porn these days, you can't be on social media, especially TikTok, Instagram, that type of stuff, because it's full of content that fuels porn addiction. Really, you need to stay off it. I remember when my therapist suggested this to me, this was going back a few years, said, Lee, you need to stay off this type of content, stay off social media. And I didn't really listen. It took me quite a while to put that into practice, but I can say it's one of the best moves that I've made. It's helped massively. So I would say, second thing, make it so it's difficult to access that type of content. Another thing I would suggest is becoming a person, and this is something that's going to happen over time the longer you're clean and sober, becoming a person who doesn't need this type of stuff, because you've built a life that you don't need to escape from. You built a life you're happy with, content with, and you get fulfillment and enjoyment in other ways. You don't need cocaine, porn, cheap dopamine hits and escapism, which that is essentially what all of that stuff is. So guys, if any of this stuff resonates with you at all, if you're on your own clean and sober journey from this kind of stuff, or anything, could just be cocaine on its own, could be alcohol, porn, let me know how you're getting on in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I have massive respect for anyone making a positive change in their lives and getting clean and sober, because it's a difficult thing to do. If you're interested in addiction and recovery content, please hit subscribe. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great week.